Hi, everybody. Today we have with us Joanna Shea from the Negotiations Collective, and we are thrilled to have her here with us today talking about negotiations. It is a hot topic and it never gets old. So for those of you who don't know us and aren't familiar with us, my name is Liz McCrae. I'm a co-founder of Village Wealth, and we are an acquisition management platform and a buy sell side marketplace, helping more people accelerate through acquisitions and making acquisitions accessible to more people across Canada. And we're just going to jump right into introductions with Joanna. Joanna, I'm going to let you introduce yourself today, and then let's roll. Let's just get into the session here today. So thank you again for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me. Yeah. So hello, my name is Joanna Shea. I'm the managing partner of the Negotiations Collective. I come at negotiations after almost 20 years in the commercial negotiation space. So acquisitions, divestments, swaps, but in the energy, infrastructure, and utility space. So a couple $1 billion worth of experience is there and some cracked ribs, right? We learn through our failures. And about 5 years ago, I partnered with former FBI or trained by the FBI undercover hostage negotiator agents. So we've essentially created a business that helps our clients get more. Right? Like, I mean, Liz, you and I, we come at things from what's the NPV? What's the return on investment? What's the schedule? What's the payout period? Those are really important, critical things in a transaction. But when I met these professionals from the hostage side, the question was not what, but who are they? Like, how do you profile your counterpart? And it kind of blew my head off. I was like, what?
So it took it more into the psychology.
Way more, right? Like, yay, financial statements, but like, who are you dealing with? And the Negotiations Collective was born.
And that's how you came to where you are today with training. Because tell us more about Negotiations Collective, because it's my understanding you do training and workshops and that kind of thing. So how did this come together?
Yeah, so when I met these individuals from a law enforcement background, wildly different from my own in the commercial energy space, we started talking and we started kind of blending what they knew with what I knew. And we thought we were going to build an advisory firm, honestly doing consulting work, but
Right.
we wanted to make more of an impact. Because advisory, you work with one team, and when you're leading a transaction for somebody, you're doing the fishing per se. But if you're training and working with someone, you're teaching them how to fish, which
Well,
means
and that's exactly why we built Village Wealth too.
right. Like,
How can
this
we
is
reach
what you
more
and I.
people?
So
Yeah,
many synergies. You want to
absolutely.
make them successful, and it's so much fun to see people thrive.
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
we built out this training curriculum. It's 3 days of advanced learning that focuses on our pillars. So our pillars for negotiation and conflict resolution training, the first is strategic networking. If you do not know your who, I do not care how bright you are, how gorgeous you are, all those things, it is who you know. And if you don't know the who, you're never going to get your what. And anyone who's listening, wise up to that. I mean that with a lot of support and love. You need to know the who. And if you don't, you're wasting your time. And pair that
Like
with, pardon, go ahead.
who's on the other side of the table kind of thing.
Well, but like who's on the other side of the table might not be the decision maker, right? Who is your who that's going to get you your what? Right? That's the strategic networking. Take the time, slow it down, figure out who the decision makers are. And if you can, build trust and rapport. First and foremost, that's pillar one. Pillar two is the conflict resolution training, and that it's going to come hard and it's going to come fast, like a punch in the face. And if you don't know how to respect yourself and your counterpart, control your reaction and respond strategically, you're never going to get to the third leg of the stool. That's resolution. And that's the negotiation space. That's where the rubber hits the road, and that's where you make the money and build relationships.
So who, and then the second
Conflict
piece being,
resolution, and then negotiations.
and then the negotiations.
Yeah.
Okay, love it. And why are you compelled to teach? Like, what drives you to teach?
I actually put out a video on this. First, 3 parts to why I'm driven to teach. First is the learning. I'm a giant nerd. like huge. I love learning. It's my primary driver.
Amazing.
And so the more industries, the more companies we work with, the smarter I get and the smarter they get. And it's an incredible thing. And the second part of being driven to teach this is the trust. Is that when you rip it open, people need to trust you to disclose their needs. And that is a privilege that I will never take for granted. So with the learning and the trust, my third trigger on why I do this is like the light bulb. When we're working with corporate teams and all of a sudden you can just see their eyes flare. They're like, I get it. Whew. So they slow down so that they can speed up down the road. It's awesome. So learning, trust, and where they get to a point where they're about to run out that door and get what they want.
Amazing. I love it. So for our audience, a lot of our audience are first-time acquirers. They're buying their first business. They're getting into negotiations for the very first time. And what advice would you give someone who is a novice, who's stepping into negotiations, maybe for the first time ever before?
So if these are all first-time entrepreneurs, buckle up. No, it's a wild ride, very, very rewarding, but you better be ready. But if so, for a first-time potential purchaser, we'll frame it that way.
Yeah.
Be disciplined in your preparation. Understand, write down the 5 most important things to you. Unquestionable. Perhaps it's autonomy. You don't ever want anybody to tell you what to do again. FYI, as an entrepreneur, that doesn't really work out because you have clients to serve, but autonomy might be 1. 2 might be stable cash flow. 3 might be a wildly flexible schedule. Like each entrepreneur is going to have something why they're buying that company, but write it down. Write it down and make that your walk away. This is the discipline, is that when you get really emotional about buying a company, you spend all this time, you spend all this money, then you just get to like, we got to close it. But go back, right? Go back to where it began. Look at those 5 key points. And does this deal for you as a soon to be purchaser hit what you wrote down you needed?
Yeah, because when you get into due diligence and you're heavy in there and you're falling in love with the business, but at the same time, sometimes you're finding things out that you didn't know before. And I've heard you say before, those 5 things, write them on the sticky notes, write them on the post-it notes, put them where you can see them as a constant reminder. And I love that.
Yeah, write it in permanent marker on your wrist for, for the 3 months it'll take to wear off, right? Just write it down somewhere where it is front of mind.
And not going away, and stick to those. Yeah, always coming back to those. That's great advice. Thank you. So when kind of getting heated in conversations, like how do you handle disagreements or conflicts that arise during a negotiation?
Well, first is don't go in thinking you're right.
Mm.
Ooh, yeah, that's step 1 is respect. Right, the world's kind of gotten a bit cranky. I think it's a beautiful place, but everyone thinks they're right these days. And that's rude. That's disrespectful. So if you're sitting at your table being like, Jane doesn't know what she's talking about, she doesn't know this is the best deal she's ever gonna get, she should be selling to me, watch your tone. Because Jane's gonna smell that you're condescending to her.
Yeah, all those little things, hey, the tone,
Oof.
and then those kind of in between subtleties.
Yeah,
Have
like
a lot to play.
disrespect can be triggered very easily. Like when we teach it, like everyone look in the mirror right now. We call them the fears. So when you're pissed off, when you're in a transaction with somebody, when you're getting there and they're getting really cranky at you and you know you've pissed them off, do you think you triggered for fears a lack of fairness, a lack of empathy, a lack of autonomy, or a lack of recognition? You've done something to the person on the other side of the table to have them shut down on you. And if
So
you,
this is something to read from the other party, and then to put that acronym, to run that acronym through your head, that fears acronym.
Yeah.
Fairness. Can you say it one more time?
Yep.
Fairness.
Fairness, empathy, autonomy, and recognition.
Mm,
And this
that's
is the
powerful.
hard part. Like, it's self-awareness. Look in the mirror. Look in the mirror. Like, we are half of the problem, but we're also half of the opportunity.
And so, yeah, lean into that too, is coming at it from, there's a problem and there's an opportunity.
Yeah. No
And
doesn't mean no. No just means you found the wall. So be
you need
resilient
to
and
scale the
bounce off
wall.
of it. Yeah. Just be bounce off of it. Like, a little bounce, like a slinky, bang, bang, right? It's just have some fun with it. No doesn't necessarily mean no in the negotiation space, right? Yeah, absolutely. But listen. So if you have someone snap and say, no, that won't work, that's where you sit and you deploy active listening skills.
And dig deeper, kind of thing.
Bang, open-ended questions. Don't just slam your book and stomp off. That's you having a hissy fit. Okay, I hear this isn't going to work for you. Tell me what would. Because skilled negotiators, we don't counter our own offers, right? If I put an offer down on the table and someone bites or like barks, gets angry, snaps at me, this hasn't happened in a while because I'm good at what I do. But if someone were to do that, I would have to reflect and think, crap, I didn't understand them as well as I could have.
I didn't understand them.
Me, not them, me.
Yeah.
Me.
Okay. What am I not seeing here?
Bang. And then, assuming I haven't attacked their ego, which you never want to do, because 90% of people are going to choose between their ego. They're going to choose their ego over doing what's right or even what's good for them. Ego will win.
90%.
It will win. It will win. It's an animal. So don't attack the ego. Self-reflect, soften them, lower their zone of resistance to you and say, okay, loud and clear, this isn't going to work. Can you help me understand why? Or can we get creative? If this doesn't work, what would? What does the best case scenario look like to you?
Those are great feeder questions. Okay. And so when dealing with a business owner who's been, there have been invested sometimes for decades in their companies, and there is a lot of emotion there. Do you have any recommendations for separating the business owner from the emotion and they're experiencing with their company?
So I love it when people say that, because it's just so darn academic. Basically, it's like trying to disassociate your feelings from your children. You love them, like, despite the tantrums.
They're a part of you.
They're a part of you. So put yourself in the shoes of a business owner that birthed this company. And it's probably as painful as birth, right? Or maybe even more, depending, but like, that birthed this, that created this, and have seen it grow up 10, 20, 30 years. They have relationships with the employees. They might have gone to their kids' baptisms or christenings or bar mitzvahs. They're a part of them. So for anybody to go into a negotiation and be like, it's just business, bang, you've just been disrespectful.
Right off the hop.
Bang, like, absolutely. So if you're dealing with a robot, you have a chance. You can disassociate the feelings from the business, but very rarely am I negotiating with AI these days.
Not yet, anyway.
No, yeah, I mean, it's coming, but so you can't. As the person who is approaching this person that is emotionally attached to their business, you've got to lead with a justification on the why. Why is it good for them? What's the benefit for them? Stop thinking about yourself, think about them.
Why is it good for them?
Why? Okay. And that's part of prep right there, that one.
Yeah. And that leads me into, the next piece here being, there's their why, and then there's values.
Yeah.
And, at times there can be a misalignment of values, or if you jump ahead and don't understand what the seller's values are, or vice versa, they're not understanding what your values are. Values are. There's that misalignment. Yeah.
No.
There's that misalignment, how would you speak to that misalignment from a values perspective? Getting over that. Is there any, or if there is a misalignment in values, is there any getting over it? Because the business owner is that attached, and that those are important things for them.
So this is where like negotiation ethics come into play, right? Like there's some cases that professors use in MBA programs, because typically that's where you get the more advanced negotiation is EMBA and MBA programs and training there. And in a lot of those cases, they start off, they do kind of put you in combat mode. They do. How can you maximize? Though it should not be the right thing. It should be how can you create more together. But when there's a misalignment of values, I mean, this is where ethics come in. We do not teach people to lie, cheat, or steal. Absolutely not. But if you understand what the people want to hear, you understand what their values are and their needs, and it's not illegal, some people will stretch. Like there's a big case in the MBA program where there's somebody who's emotionally attached to a piece of land, and it's like a heritage building, been in the family for hundreds of years, and then a commercial developer comes in and wants to buy that and rip that sucker apart. And the seller's like, I'm not letting anybody touch this unless they guarantee that this heritage home and all the beautiful aesthetics of it will be maintained and the commercial developments around it. And in this case, wow, some people will say anything to get the deal. Lie blatantly to the face of the seller, the buyer will to close the transaction. So ethics are very important in negotiations, but there's a line. Like bluffing is part of business. And if you know that you're never going to see that person again and there might be no impact, you better bloody make sure of it. Then there's a line that some people cross.
Yeah, like one that comes to mind is when an exiting owner really wants to ensure that the employees are gonna stay in the business, and the purchaser is going to keep them in the business, and the purchaser may meet them and go, oh, no way,
Oh,
are these
hell
people
no.
staying?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
But in that case, it may be that it just things just unravel over time,
or you just say what you need, and 6 months after, when they've just failed every performance review they have, get them out of there. Right? If it's like it's so, question to the listeners, understand your ethics. What are you willing to do? I hope it is not to lie, cheat, or steal. But some people do. So eyes wide open.
And things just naturally change post-acquisition. There's no way around that. There's no way around it.
Yeah, like, I mean, as a seller, I understand that you might be emotionally attached to your staff, but this company is buying you because they want to optimize it. They're not, and an optimization sometimes comes with the removal of certain staff. You can't blame the new owner for wanting to change. It's now theirs.
Yeah, and change is hard. Change is difficult. So, and that brings up a really good point of when a business owner was not intending to sell, and a purchaser has, gone out of their way to identify them and find them and go, this is a great business. I'm gonna approach them about acquiring them and buying them out. And approaching that conversation in a meaningful way. What would you say to that? How would you speak to that?
Oh gosh, it's different for every negotiation. But I'll just put this shoe on my business. Someone were to come to us and knock on our door, which has happened. I love what I do. I love this business. I am having so much fun growing it and working with these incredible people and building this curriculum and seeing the results with the people we work with. Like, I jump out of bed. I'm annoying. I love it.
It's time to go to work.
Yeah, except when it's accounting. I hate it. I know. Invoicing. But I love what I do. So there's a number, but it's ludicrous. And I can't justify it other than like matching it with me wanting a unicorn that I would probably sell for right now.
Mm.
And so if they're coming at somebody like a me, good luck.
Yeah.
Because some people really love what they're doing. They don't want to go anywhere. Maybe they could come at someone like me and be like, we'll let you stay on as a leadership position or the managing partner for a 10-year period. But we'll invest all of this capital for you to expand this part of your silo. And then at 10 years, off to the races you go, and we step in once you've buffed it out.
There's scenarios there. And you just said that you didn't like accounting. So if they're
Right?
going
Yeah, I
to
know. Give me
help
anyone
you grow.
CFO. Anyone listening? Yeah. So you question on if there is a business that somebody wants to buy, if I were, and you knew that they weren't likely a seller, I would be ripping open my LinkedIn and I'd be finding every single person that has a connection to the decision maker at that organization. And I'd be doing my due diligence. I'd be doing intelligence on the firm, any of the interests, potential partnerships that you could get wind of through your strategic network. I'd deep dive, collect
Well,
intelligence.
coming back to what you said originally, one of the stools is the who is the decision maker, what motivates them, what are their values, like is there and like you said again, it's maybe it's not a no, it's just there's the wall. So how do we bounce off the wall and get over the wall? And you gave a perfect example of, I'm not in a position to sell, but I would stay. So there's still opportunity there, just understanding how to navigate that.
Yeah, and I would maybe have that creative conversation with someone that I liked, that I trusted, that treated me to a bottle of Chardonnay, right? Like just those little things, right? Like,
So in your world, how do you build trust really quickly?
oh, I love this question. Okay. Secret sauce, everybody. Buckle up. Ready, ready, ready? It's being likable.
Be likable.
Bang. So Gary Nesner, he was the founder of the FBI's hostage crisis negotiation. We don't know each other well. We have conversations once in a while. He's the founder of that division of de-escalation, international, on-ground North American hostage negotiation with the FBI. And I was like, Gary, what is the secret sauce to being an exceptional negotiator? Is it that you can take someone out from 2 kilometers away straight between the eyes? Is that it? Like the ultimate threat, do or I do you? And he's like, no. If I wanted to go for a beer with them within the first 30 seconds, I knew they'd be an exceptional crisis negotiator. I'm like, you're joking. And he's like, no. So part of
30
our
seconds.
training is persuasion, influence, and power. In high stress situations, who do you want to say yes to? Somebody you like or somebody you don't like?
Somebody you like, of
And
course.
how about this? In a very comfortable situation where things are nice, the sun is shining, all is good, who do you really not want to say no to? Somebody you like.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard to say no to somebody that you really like.
Well, I understand why it's a whole training module in itself, how to be likable.
Yeah. Well,
I
and
mean,
it's not a joke. Like, and this is just like segue into, because us being two professional females, I find this hysterical about women. And I only say that because again, I've been doing this, like this is my world. But women typically, I'm making stereotypes here, but
yeah.
we don't like asking. Women do not ask in negotiations, which just makes me grr. But they don't ask typically because they don't want to come across as not likable. So if you're a likable person, you should be getting more.
Mm. And just ask. Just
Just
ask.
ask. Like, just ask anyone listening. just, I mean, ask strategically. If you don't deserve it, you're not going to get it. But if you don't ask, you're never going to get.
So, okay. So what about when you are getting there and you're getting deeper and the conversations are going deeper and you're picking up these subtle cues that the seller is uncommitted?
Hesitation. Okay. So ideally, you've got a teammate. Like, as exceptional as we all are, it's a wonderful thing when you've got a negotiation teammate, because someone's leading the conversation and somebody, your second, is listening. So
And
you're
with the other party, you're assuming the other party is aware.
Yeah.
Of,
oh no, like, it's not like a, you don't have a hearing recorder and the, super spy stuff. I mean, if you want, by all means, but preferably they're aware that there's a negotiation partner. And so you're talking, that partner is listening to them. So they're going to be seeing the hesitation. You put out you say something like, we need to close within 30 days. Immediately their lips pierce and their hands go across their chest. Like little things like that, where you're picking up on the cues of their body getting uncomfortable with terms you're pushing. Or they just go silent on you, right? Like, hesitation isn't subtle. They're not being a passive aggressive about it. They're just not talking to you anymore.
Well, and what about when it's all through email communication? Because so much is not in person anymore.
Get them on the Zoom. Don't take the meeting unless they put the recorder on or the camera on. Set rules, set boundaries. Like, when we teach, we are merciless in our agendas. Well, no, like, a credit to you is, like, you're very organized. You sent me everyone, she kind of prepped me like a slew of questions. But you did that on purpose to guide the conversation. That's what a skilled negotiator does. You set out the parameters and the objectives. We're going to meet, we're going to talk about this. But in the insertion of your agenda, parameters, thou shalt have thy cameras on.
So
And
what
don't
about
have the meeting if they don't?
If they don't, yeah, because those subtle cues would get missed.
Yeah.
Or even if it's not a camera, it's a minimum a phone call.
Yeah.
In their voice.
Mm-hmm.
What about when there's an intermediary, a transaction advisor running the process on behalf of the business owner? And because we see this all the time, like, letter of intent sent to M&A firm, M&A firms taking information back to the business owner, and there's that degree of separation.
Honestly, I'd probably try and jump over the third party.
And just be speaking directly.
Especially if they're buggering you up. Like third parties are there for a reason. They're wonderful advocates sometimes. But sometimes they also have their own ulterior motives. And so I would say, honor the third party. Give them the chance to liaise, give them the chance to be the exceptional representative they're supposed to be. But if things start going mucky, that's when you fall back to our first leg on strategic networking.
Who is the decision maker?
Yeah. And granted, there might be provisions like for engagement, like if you're going to be part of this process, you have to sign an oath or an agreement that says you can't engage with the original buyer. Fair enough.
Or asking for a meeting with everyone, or asking for a Zoom meeting with everyone present, so we can talk about a few of these things and just cut to the chase.
Honestly, for anybody, like, the third party is there typically to help the seller's life be easier. But wherever you can, make sure they're at the table with the person who actually makes the decision. Try hard to get the decision maker in the room whenever you can.
Ask.
Yes. They might say no, but at least you asked.
Yeah. And then if they say no, defend why you're asking.
Yeah. Okay. Understand for this situation, maybe the time doesn't work, but like, what about another date?
So advice for first-time purchasers to position a win-win, like going in with that win-win outcome. You want that from the beginning, or I've heard before where everybody should feel a little bit sour, like,
oh, that's just bollocks.
That's how I feel too, personally, but I hear it a lot.
Blah blah. Yeah. I can say, when you both walk away smiling, that is a really hard thing to do, but it is an exceptional thing.
And it can happen.
It can happen. Like yeah, that's what we do. But all right, so for the win-win mindset, so at the beginning of this recording, we talked about sitting down and writing down your top 5. Like
Yeah.
really thinking deeply about that. And to anyone's listening, find a negotiation partner, a teammate on your team, a friend, a trusted ally, your spouse, someone that can really, in a very constructive, supportive way, rattle your brain. Why is that important to you? Why is it important to you? Like really flesh it out. And then, as thorough as you were about yourself, flip it to them. Be them. Put your counterpart's shoes on. Think deeply about the 5 most important things to them. And empathize.
Do you recommend even just asking, like, what are the
of
what are the
course,
most
because
important things?
assuming is
Rather than
dangerous.
guessing.
But I'm
Yeah.
thinking before you meet them, think deeply about that. Do your strategic intelligence, your surveillance, industry tell, all that stuff. But then when you get to them, first meetings, in my opinion, the only purpose of them is so you get a second.
Get a second. What do you mean by get a second?
Get a second meeting.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, if you sit down at the table with your binder and all your things and your financial statements and blah, 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 and that's your first introduction, I'm frustrating to those people because I'm just like, so what'd you do this weekend? Where'd you grow up? What'd you get up to? And they just keep trying to get straight to business. And some will eventually get frustrated and be like, well, we haven't gotten around to the point of this meeting. And I'm like, can I tell you what the point of this meeting was? It's to see if we have a second one.
Yeah. And I think that's great advice for people who are just stepping into buying a business, because when they can get that owner meeting, you can't go all the way to 100 in that first meeting. It'll scare them off. It'll give them that wrong impression. That first meeting is very much to get the second meeting. And yeah, it's great that you bring that up.
Well, and even think of it this way for anyone listening, a book, it's called Predictably Irrational by Dan Ariely. Fascinating stuff. But he breaks it down into our mindsets. Some of us are relationship driven. Some of us are transactional animals. So when I talk about profiling for your buyers like Liz, small business, small to medium sized businesses,
Yep.
When you go hunting, think very deeply about the person that's sitting across from you. Are they a relationship person and want a hug and a gift certificate to their favorite restaurant, or a weekend at a hotel that they love, tickets to something for their family, or do they want money? Because if you misfire and you kick straight to transaction mode on someone that's relationship driven, that's going to leave them with a really icky feeling.
Yeah.
And flip it, if you like go for the group hug with someone that's super transactional, they're going to be like, get out of my face.
Yeah, totally turned off. Try and grasp that right away.
Yeah, I'm going to go shoot Bambi. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we're wrapping up on time here. So I just have two more questions. The next question being, what are some common things to avoid? What are some red flags there to avoid during negotiations that are common mistakes people make? That we haven't already talked about.
No. Don't forget to do what you said you were going to do. That's reputation damage there. Stick to your word. You say it, commit. So be very cautious in your commitments.
Well, and even in the subtle things, like I'm going to be here at such and such time. I'll email you. I'll do this. Every little incremental thing that you said you were going to do.
Do it. Yep. Yep. Say what you mean. Do what you say. And honestly, this one's tough for some people. Don't be a jerk. Like,
simple.
Don't be a jerk. Like,
there's something that you want, and
a lot of people can just walk. Like, I have a girlfriend who's selling her business, And it's a food truck if anyone's interested. But she actually looked you up, Liz, by the way. I think she might even registered on your portfolio or your platform.
Wonderful.
But she had somebody come at her hard on a low bottom, like an absolutely insulting anchor when she first
Mhm.
priced it. And she was like, "What? You're a dick." No. So she didn't get any bites. And so she actually ended up lowering it to within striking distance of what he offered. And so he came up to what she offered, and she's like, "This is easy. I'm not selling to you."
Again, the likability.
Yeah. And he's like, "Wah, wah, 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 wah." And then he made the mistake of saying, "Well, let me talk to your husband."
Oh,
Oh,
nasty.
oh, what a silly guy. And not bashing, like my partner is a man. I love my husband. Like he's a man. Like I work with tons of men, but it was pretty funny talking about, go back to those fears: fairness, empathy, autonomy, or recognition. This person told another person what to do.
Yeah,
This
and
person was disrespectful.
mhm.
And some have more than they need on their plates. And that's particularly the group of people that if you piss them off and you're a jerk, they will tell you no in spite of
Yeah,
themselves.
yeah, yeah. And I've heard lawyers say before that, in certain conversations, sometimes it's more important to be kind than to be right.
Yeah.
And
So
you
there
read
you
the
go,
read the
everyone.
room. Read the
Don't be a
room.
jerk.
Don't be a jerk.
Don't be a jerk.
It's simple,
You'll get so much further in life. Don't be taken advantage of, but don't be a jerk.
but don't be a jerk. Okay, last question here. Can you expand on the training that is available through the Negotiations Collective, just for everyone here, if they wanted to reach out or understand more about what you do? These are amazing skills. I know we have a lot of advisors that do listen in and watch our content. So yeah, where can people reach you? How can they learn more?
Oh, thank you for asking. So we can be found on LinkedIn. We have a page, and we actually try and put out research, teaching videos, or book recommendations on a weekly
Oh,
basis so
perfect.
people can learn. Because
Oh,
everyone that's listening, thank you for giving me your time, but you're probably busy. But if you want to dive deep on training, reach out to us. Go to our website and send us an email, or to me directly if you want. I will do my best to get back to you as quickly as I can. But if you want faster service, go through our website. And the training, we take people on a journey. Our training is staircased. So we start, say, with that first pillar, that strategic networking. Then we move into the conflict resolution, and then we move into the more advanced negotiation pieces.
okay.
So we have 12 different modules
Oh,
that
amazing.
people can choose from. Um,
And
but
is it in person? Is it virtual? Is it,
build,
you know,
let's do the journey together. I mean, we built this during COVID. So we've got great ratings on Zoom when we do remote training, no question. Or we can be in person because we're located in Chicago, Cleveland, Calgary, and soon to be an area in BC. Yeah.
amazing, amazing. Well, thank you, Joanna, so much. We such simple advice and such tangible and advice that you can put to use right away. So we so appreciate your time, and we hope to see you around. And hopefully, some people reach out to you. And this will live on our social channels as well, and we'll make sure that people know who you are.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the opportunity and much success to you and your firm.
Thank you so much, Joanna.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Stop recording.